going.
It's official? Okay.
All
All right, everybody. Welcome to the first official episode of UnderEvaluation.
I'd say that.
Okay. So, welcome. If you've seen our previous videos, welcome back. This is the new, season, kind of, the new chapter of UnderEvaluation where we're going to be making some more videos.
Yeah. It's exciting.
So, wanted this first bit to be about the introduction and the welcome back to UnderEvaluation. UnderEvaluation started when I, Jude, was in 9th grade. I made this channel and started making sports videos into 10th grade, let it go, and then me and Tyler met in 11th grade doing The Ramble.
Which is the daily newscast for the high school that we went to.
Yes, shout out Daily Ramble. And since then we've made a few videos testing. We've done a video in the actual podcast room. We did two. We did 2 episodes. There was the one of us just talking about TV shows. And then there was another where we tried with guests. We had guests. Okay.
Yeah, where you brought Mike and I brought Lily.
Yes.
And
was Pierce on there?
No, the idea was to have Pierce on there. I'd love to have him on at some point.
But he wasn't?
He wasn't. We had thrown the idea out there at one point to bring him on, but then we only did the 2 test episodes where we tried it just us 2, and we also just tested with guests. And then shortly afterwards, we did the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer reaction.
In the Ramble studio.
In the new studio at the high school.
Yes.
Which I actually go back and rewatch that video from time to time.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting to just go back, because that was the first time I was seeing that trailer. It was the first time you were seeing that trailer.
That was a
And I had to hold off because I'm one of those people where with trailers like that, I watch it the moment it comes out. But it came out the night before at 7 p.m. or something, so I had to wait until our lunch period the next day at school to watch it. So I had to dodge stuff on social media. I actually had to shut my phone down.
I remember you telling me about that.
Yeah.
You were going
because I'm serious
really intense
with movie spoilers. I don't want anything for that.
And
then we did a No Way Home movie review the day after the movie came out. You and I went and saw it.
And that was audio only.
That was an audio only episode, but we had audio problems halfway into the recording of that.
I do remember that too. Yeah. Oh man, fire movie though. What a great
movie.
film.
I saw it 9 times in the theater.
I saw it once. I still have to this day seen it once.
Really?
Yeah.
I was thinking about earlier today. I'm gonna rewatch it when it comes around to December 17th, which is the anniversary of it coming out.
Wow, that's really amazing that you remember that date too.
Yeah.
Wow, and I'm the one sitting here with an amazing Spider-Man water bottle, but clearly I'm.
Yeah, I don't have any Spider-Man on me right now. But then again, I am just kind of like that with movies in general.
You just know everything.
Not
just a knowledge
everything.
database.
Not everything.
Yeah.
But if it's something I'm really passionate about, it's one of those things where I drill it into my head, like the build up to No Way Home. I was just drilling it in my head of December 17th, December 17th, December 17th. That now it's just in my head. It's just December 17th is Spider-Man No Way Home Day.
Yeah. I remember how hype you were. You were like, all right, at lunch, we're going to sit down, we're going to the studio, and you're going to sit at the desk, and we're going to record. And I was like, okay. I was hyped for the movie, but your excitement made it that much more exciting.
Yeah, that was my hype throughout the years for movies. I'm generally, not this year. Actually, that's not true. There is a movie this year. But each year, generally, there's about one movie around Christmas time, holiday time, that I'm just really pumped for. And that kind of feeds into my joy of the holiday season, because I have something to look forward to, which is the movie. And then afterwards, I have Christmas right there. So you don't only have the holiday joy, but you have this hype for a movie. And each year, my hype for whatever movie it was just kind of got more and more intense.
Yeah.
So that movie was the one where it kind of reached almost like a peak for me in terms of hype. There wasn't anything last year that I was really excited to see. So that was unfortunate. The only thing that came out last year, there were 2 things around Christmas time. There was Violent Night, which is a movie about Santa Claus killing a bunch of people.
Oh, let's go.
No, it's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Okay.
And then there was Avatar 2.
I have heard mixed reviews on Avatar 2.
When I walked out of it, I thought it was pretty good. When I had some time to stew on it, my thought of it kind of declined a bit. But I think that's normal with a lot of movies.
Yeah.
Although for me, I do have the opposite happen a fair amount, where I sit and I think about it, and my mood toward that movie only improves.
Mm.
There's some movies that I've seen that like started out as like a 5 out of 10, and then it ramps up to like a 7 or an 8.
Speaking of movies, like we are going to be doing a lot of episodes discussing movies because Tyler over here is the movie connoisseur, and I myself have not seen a ton of different movies. I've seen all the Marvel, all the DC stuff, but a lot of like horror, especially. I don't know how many horror things we're
That's
gonna
a
do
shame.
because I'm not a huge horror fan, but I'd be willing to watch a couple. But yeah, I really want like we're gonna make a lot of videos talking about movies, talking about TV shows and stuff. Yeah, especially as things come out, doing like reviews of like going to see stuff opening night. We could do more audio episodes like in the car, come back here,
like
whatever.
reviews and stuff. Yeah, that
Exactly.
would be great.
Yeah, would love to do that. I've just been recently getting into like some like okay, so I recently got into anime, right?
Okay.
Really, really big into anime. I've been watching anime for a minute, but I've seen Attack on Titan, I've seen Demon Slayer, I've seen parts of Hunter x Hunter. I recently just finished watching Death Note. And have you heard about this?
I actually think we briefly talked about this over a call, but you didn't go in depth with it. You just briefly touched on you watching anime and something about Death Note, but I have no idea what about.
So Death Note is by far like at the moment, and I know it came out in like 2008, so it's an old show. There's only 37 episodes. It's a very short anime, but like
I thought it was for how much hype there is around that show. I figured there would have been more episodes for some reason.
No, it's a very short anime. It's one of the shorter ones, and it is honestly one of the best shows, like one of the best stories I've ever seen. It's incredible. Like I could probably spend 2 hours talking about it.
That's fun. That would actually be interesting. If you did like if there were certain episodes that you and I dedicated to certain shows or movies or something.
Dude.
I think that could be fun because there's a few movies or shows that I could just sit here and just ramble on about. I mean, you know that because a lot of the conversations we had senior year of high school was me just rambling about movies. And that was just kind of
your hot takes about all the movies.
I have a lot of hot takes. I'm sure throughout the course of this podcast, my hot takes will be revealed.
Oh, yes.
I don't want to put them all out there at once, but I have some that definitely have everyone in the room turning and looking at me in terms of movies and TV shows, mostly movies.
I remember in senior year of high school when the trailer for one of my all-time favorite movies, The Batman, came out, and I remember you seeing it and be like, this movie looks like it sucks. Like, I hate this. I was like, how could you say that? It looks so good. You're like, this looks so trash.
I wouldn't go so far as to say I said it was trash. I just said it wasn't interesting to me. And I still like the music to those trailers is incredible. I did see that movie recently.
Right, for the first time.
Yes. I saw a lot of the Batmans recently because Batman is not my favorite superhero. In fact, he's technically not a superhero.
Huh? How is he? I mean, okay, in the comics though, there is like some clips of him benching like 800
he's like
or
a
something
vigilante.
like that. I mean, yeah, but then technically a Green Arrow isn't a superhero.
I guess. I don't know. So Batman has never really been one of my favorite characters. I'll say that.
Wow.
I saw The Dark Knight years ago. Only The Dark Knight. I didn't see the rest of the trilogy, only that middle chapter. And I watched it only because I'm a fan of the Joker character.
Yes.
I love the Joker
Who
character.
doesn't love the Dark Knight Joker?
All right, here's one of my hot takes. We're going to, what is this? Not even 10 minutes into the first episode, I'm going to spill one of my hot takes. I don't really like the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy.
I also agree with you.
I think that middle movie, Dark Knight, I think the only enjoyable thing for me, aside from like cinematography and like movie making, like movie quality and the presentation of the film, in terms of story and performances and all, the Heath Ledger Joker is the only thing that I really get enjoyment out of with that movie.
I honestly agree with you. I think that that Batman, played by Christian Bale in the movies, I think his voice is goofy. I can't take it seriously. And yeah, I honestly like whenever he's talking to villains or whatever, he's like, where is she? I'm like, dude, come on, like drop the act, you know? That's what I love about Robert Pattinson's Batman. It just feels so realistic. It feels so, if there was a real Batman, if he was an actual person, real character, this is what I feel like it would look like. I love realistic things.
It's realistic, but there's also an element of, like, so I don't really like Batman that much. but I can at least gather like what his personality is supposed to be from the movies I've seen. And with the I believe it was directed by Matt Reeves, the new Batman, Batman, the Robert Pattinson Batman.
Yes.
I'm not a big fan of Batman in that movie either.
I also
think
have
he's one of the
reasons.
most interesting of the ones I've seen.
It's supposed to be that way, though. This is what I tell everybody. That's what it's supposed to be like.
I wish there was more Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
There's not much Bruce Wayne in it. And I wish there was a little more, because I don't care for the Batman character. So what you can do is, in other films, you can at least capture my attention with the Bruce Wayne plot. And there wasn't much of one to at least grab my attention in that movie.
That's the point, though, is that so in the Batman movie, he says he's on his second year of being Batman.
Yes.
This is his second year doing it. He's brand new to this. He's like a very dark character. He's very in his feels for all of the movie, and then like Batman is where he really expresses himself, but that part of Bruce Wayne hasn't been expressed, where every other Batman, Bruce Wayne is a playboy, billionaire, philanthropist.
Tony Stark did it better.
Okay, all right, like fair.
Sorry.
Fair.
I'm not a big Marvel fan either anymore.
And we can definitely talk about
we
that
can
too.
Continue.
So,
I just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, I get it. But the Bruce Wayne aspect, like I'm telling you, I don't know a ton about the next movie. I know that Hush is supposed to be the main villain, and I know that
Who?
Hush. It's a Batman thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, that's
So-
not me making a joke. I honestly don't know who you're talking about.
Oh no, I honestly don't know that much about him because he's a lesser known Batman
Okay.
villain.
I appreciate that though. At least they're not just like reusing villains.
Yeah, I like that too. I honestly like that too, that they're trying to make it fresh and use new villains. I've seen a few videos about the upcoming Batman movies. I think there's supposed to be 3 that they're coming out with.
Okay, so they're doing a trilogy?
Yes, and
As in like 3 more, or just like 1, 2, 3?
I think 3 total. I think they're aiming for 3 total.
I'm cool with a trilogy.
I'm pretty sure. You can double check me on that, but I'm like almost positive in the next movies you will see Bruce Wayne come to life more in Robert Pattinson, like 100%. That's supposed to be part of his character arc throughout however many movies there are. I would bet on it.
Okay.
So don't give up on it yet.
I can get a little more into it, I guess, depending on what they do with the next few movies. I did watch like other Batman movies though. I watched the Michael Keaton Batman movies. There's only
Those are
2
classic.
of those.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think the first one's pretty good. The second one.
I actually haven't ever seen the second one.
Batman Returns it's okay.
Did you write a review on that one?
I did. For those listeners that would like to know my opinions on movies, starting last like October, any movie that I saw that was brand new, I would go and I'd write a review on Letterboxd. So if you want, you can go follow my Letterboxd and read my
Letterboxd,
reviews.
right?
Letterboxd. Well, it's like Letterboxd and then there's a D at the end. So
Letterboxd
I don't. But like
D?
anytime someone pronounces it, I just hear them say Letterboxd, not Letterboxd. Because
Okay.
there technically should be that D pronunciation at the end.
Letterboxd, what, dash Tyler Menzel or something? Or
I
what's
don't
your
know.
username?
I'll have to read it aloud. But I do review any and all movies that I have not seen before on there just because why not? It's a good way for me to keep track of it's TMENZEL 1029.
T Menzel 1029.
That's my
Got
account in which I review movies. So I did review all the Batman movies as I watched them. I've watched so far this year. I've watched where is it? It doesn't say on here. I've watched I think 71 films this year.
That's crazy.
I've seen that I had never seen before, and there's reviews for all 71 of them. Fairly in depth too. It ranges from like 7 to 9 paragraphs.
I saw, yeah. I was looking at some of your.
Yeah.
It honestly, seeing how in depth you get with your analysis of movies have made me been so much more critical whenever I'm looking at a new TV show, movie, whatever, like YouTube video, even where I'm like like, how did they do on this? Like, what were things that they could have done better? I find myself digging deeper into the analysis of it. It makes me enjoy the films that much more.
Yeah, I mean, it can help or hurt your enjoyment of a film. Like, there's movies that I sit and I watch with my friends, and they love it, and I don't. And it's because of maybe, like, the cinematography or the acting or the editing or the writing and stuff. And my friends, I've been told this numerous times by multiple people, like, Tyler, you need to stop being so critical of movies. You need to just sit there and turn your brain off and just enjoy the movies for what they are. And to me, that's fine for some people. Like, if you want to do that, that's your thing. Go do it. But I don't really like doing that, because I like watching movies with a critical eye, because I feel like it helps me develop a more specified taste.
Definitely.
It helps me refine what I like and what I don't like in movies, especially someone who writes in their free time. When I need inspiration, if I turn to movies that I don't like versus movies that I do like, it can kind of change how I'm inspired. But also figuring out what I personally think works in a movie versus what doesn't work in a movie can also help influence writing of, like, well, this movie did X, Y, and Z, and I didn't like how they handled that, so I'm going to do A, B, C instead.
Yes. I think especially because you write and you do your own scripts as well, it helps you to develop a clearer vision of what you like to see in movies and what you don't like to see, versus the regular person is going to stick to, like, I know that you've talked about different, like, movie arcs, different types of horror.
Like character arcs and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't even know what that was. I'm a very basic, average movie watcher. After hearing you describe that, I started looking to be like, what kind of character arc is this person? Like, so it's definitely more like aimed towards you being in that mindset because you write and because you want to create scripts and movies eventually.
And I think that's one of the reasons that I've formed Hot Takes. I also think it just comes from just, like, everyone having their own individual taste in movies. I'm a big believer in that just because the majority says something doesn't mean that if you're in the minority, you're wrong. I mean, that should go without being said, but that's unfortunately not the case. And I've dealt with that in my life, where I disagree with the majority, and I may be in that 0.1% of the population that thinks a certain way.
Right.
And therefore people are like, well, because of how small that group is, or because of how strange your opinion is, they don't want to validate it. Yeah. They try to invalidate it. And I've had that happen my entire life. Movies are, like, the biggest thing in my life. It's been, like, one of the only constants for me. And so I formed a lot of opinions on movies. I have an opinion on every movie I've ever watched. I can tell you whether I've liked it, whether I don't like it, things I like about it, things I don't like about it. So I've formed these opinions, especially with certain movies where, like, I'd go in and I'd watch them and I'd be like, oh, that was amazing. And then, or even I'll come out and I'll say, oh, that was a pretty good movie. I liked it. And then I'll go on social media or I'll talk to a friend or something, and they just start trashing the movie. And when they do that, it makes my love for that movie intensify, because it's like, oh, I love it for X, Y, and Z. I love it because they did this, this, and this. And when I start to say that to other people, I realize how much I truly care about certain movies. Or when someone says, like, oh, this character doesn't make sense because of this, then I'll be like, wait. And then I'll sit and I'll think about what they just said, and then I'll realize it's actually the complete opposite of what they're saying, and they just don't understand the movie they watched. And I think that's just the case. Oh, I thought I heard my door open for a sec. Okay.
Oh, no.
Anyway.
I was looking over at your Spider-Man 2 case, because I know that that's the exact reason why you would die on the
Spider-Man
hill
2,
for that
I
movie.
will die on the hill of The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my favorite. It's my favorite Spider-Man film. It's my favorite MCU film, because it's technically in the MCU now. Because of No Way Home, it's technically an MCU film. It's my favorite film of the MCU, and it's one of my favorite films of all time.
Yeah,
I understand people don't like that movie.
Yeah, a lot of people don't like it.
And when I read or watch videos that talk about the criticisms of that movie, I realize not enough people understand what was actually being said and what the director was going for. Sure, it would have been a lot better. There's a lot of stuff about that movie because Sony went and they cut a bunch of scenes from the movie out and all that. I understand that. The final product, though, is actually really good. This is one of the first times I learned I have hot takes, because I love this movie, and people, up until recently, actually, they constantly trashed it, And then No Way Home came out, and people were like, "Oh, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was good this entire time," or "Oh my gosh, I have a newfound appreciation for it." And
Just jump on the Andrew Garfield bandwagon real quick.
It's kind of like that. Like, I'm not one to gatekeep, but it's one of those things where if you
weren't a fan when it was out, why can't you be a fan?
It's not that at all, but it's a thing for me where the same Twitter accounts that are sitting there and they're saying like, "Oh, this movie's so good. Oh, this, and this, so good." It's the same account that was saying this, and this is so bad years ago. It's just No Way Home came out, and now it's cool to like Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate. I mean, I'm glad people are liking it, but I think it's unfortunate that it's taken so long for people to grow to like this character and this actor the way it's portrayed.
Yeah. I can't say myself that I have too many hot takes. I am a very basic movie enjoyer. I like a lot of action films. There are a few other films that I've seen. This is the effect you have on me, by the way. I don't call them movies anymore. I call them films.
I call them films. I call them films, and sometimes I even call them pictures.
Pictures? All right, that's a little too far. But
that's not too far.
Films.
I mean, that's what they
motion
were called.
Pictures.
Motion pictures. Yes, sure.
Ugh. But I don't have a lot of hot takes about them. I feel like I'm a very neutral voice in this, so we're gonna have to get some guests on here that would contradict your hot takes. I can disagree with you on some things.
There are things that we disagree on. There are certain movies that I know that like you have a love for, or at least that you like a lot. Black Panther is one of those movies. We're gonna have to do an episode just about my controversial takes because that'll be interesting.
Definitely should do that in the future, 100%.
I mean, there's movies that like they're not good movies, and I'll fully admit that, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of them, and sometimes my enjoyment can outweigh the problems I have with the quality of that film.
Yes.
Sometimes. That's not always the case. The Fast and Furious franchise is a great example of that. A lot of those movies have some problems. A lot of problems. But I still get so much enjoyment out of them. You can't really assess them 100% as movies so much as experiences. Some of them are great just as films. But some of them they just work really well to just sit there, turn on, and have fun and not think about them critically. And the enjoyment can outweigh the critical eye. That's not 100% the case with every film, though.
Yeah, like the SpongeBob movie, you're not sitting there being like, the character arc of SpongeBob was so underplayed. You're like, no, dude, it's the SpongeBob movie. Get a grip here.
I did rate the SpongeBob movie.
No, you didn't.
I didn't write a review for it, but I have a rating for it.
I
gave it a rating.
What was your rating?
I have to pull it up on my phone.
I swear, if it's below like an 8. Is it below an 8?
Out of 10?
Out of 10.
I'm talking about out of 10.
How can you rate the SpongeBob movie lower than an 8?
Because sometimes the critical eye does not agree with what I'm looking at.
All right. So while you're pulling that up, I do have like another question that I wanted to ask. So you say that when you have an appreciation for a movie, the love that you have for the good parts of the movie outweigh the bad parts of the movie, right? Like
when I love a movie, you said?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Like when you love a movie, the good aspects of it outweigh the small, because no movie can be 100% perfect, right? Or do you have movies that you would consider perfect?
There's a few
like
movies
10 out of 10?
that I have movies that I consider 10 out of 10s. Whether
Really?
they're perfect or not, I think that is up to your opinions.
It's subjective, sure.
Yes. There are movies that I personally consider perfect because everything works for me. There's plot holes and CGI and acting and stuff that sometimes in those films isn't the best. But for me, it works perfectly for me where I don't have criticisms of that film, or they're just so small and minute that it doesn't matter to me in terms, or like it does, not that it doesn't matter, but it doesn't affect how I would view or rate that film. And I did just pull it up. I gave the SpongeBob SquarePants movie a 7 out of 10.
That's outrageous.
I don't have a review for it, but it's just a 7 out of 10.
Well,
and that's because there had been like a period of time where I hadn't seen it, and I watched it like a year and a half ago. And I rated it based off of that viewing and not my experience as a child. As a child, it would be like a 9.
As a child, it wouldn't even be a 10.
I don't think I'd put it at a 10 because there's certain episodes of SpongeBob that I would consider a 10 out of 10, and it doesn't hit those levels.
That's so interesting.
That's
that you have
another
the
thing
critical
about
eye
me
with
in
that.
terms of like you shouldn't compare movies. But what I do is I have a list on my phone of all the movies I've watched this year, and I have them ranked from my favorite to least favorite. And so that has kind of caused me to sit there, and it's like, oh, this is a 4 out of 5, or like a 4 out of 5 stars, I should just say, an 8 out of 10. And it's like I watch another movie, and I'm like, oh, I really enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as that. Even like taking the fact that they're separate genres and different tones and all this kind of stuff, you take that out of it, and it's just the enjoyment level that I got or the respect that I have for the film sometimes doesn't equate. And so then I'm like, because of that, or like with franchise films, Hunger Games is a recent example for me. I just watched I had seen the first Hunger Games like 6 months ago, 8 months ago.
Did you watch all 4?
I did.
Okay.
Actually, Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Oh, recently?
Yeah.
Like you just watched them?
Catching Fire on Saturday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It was one film each day for the 3 days.
Okay, gotcha.
I did just watch them. And when I sit there and I was like thinking about my review for it, I'm like, okay, I enjoyed this film more than this one, or like that one, I should say, but not as much as that first one. I mean, I don't like the first one.
I love the first one.
I'm very open. I'm very open with my opinions on movies. I'll voice them if it's appropriate. I'm not just gonna blurt out like I don't like that movie. But in a case where we're talking about this franchise, right? I don't really like the Hunger Games franchise.
Interesting.
To say, well, there's 4 movies, right? So technically there's 5. But
is the new one a prequel?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about that because I'm just going to talk about the core Hunger Games movies.
Right.
The first 4. Which I coincidentally watched Mockingjay Part 2 on the anniversary of its release.
Oh, that's cool.
Didn't even know about that. I was on Twitter, which is X now, but I'm going to call it Twitter.
Okay.
Because you know what I mean.
Right.
But I was on there, and I had seen on one of the movie news one of the movie news accounts that I follow, and they're like, Mockingjay Part 2 was released a year ago today, and that
a year ago,
like the day or not a year ago, sorry, just like some amount of years.
Right.
What is
6
that?
or 7.
Like 8, something like that. Came out 2015.
Okay.
So not a year ago, but you understand what I mean.
Right.
It's just like the anniversary of that film. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. At least I have a good realization to make about that movie.
Yes. So here's something that I do want to talk about speaking of movies, speaking about like the mixture between childhood and horror, like a movie for both audiences. The new FNAF movie I really wanted to talk about because
this is good because this is a fairly relevant movie.
Yes.
I don't know when we're going to upload this, but it'll definitely be between the time in which it was released in theaters and released I think it's streaming.
It's on Peacock.
It's on
already.
Peacock, but I'm talking like Blu-ray, DVD, where you can like rent it if you want on Amazon or something like that. It'll definitely be posted before that comes out, so I think it'll still be relevant.
So on IMDb, I just looked it up. It's got a 5.5 out of 10, which I think my personal rating, I gave it a 4.5, so it's higher than that.
Sure.
I'm very critical of it because I'm a huge FNAF fan.
Yes.
And I'm very in the know about the lore and about like what I wanted the movie to be and then how much I thought it flopped. I want to know what your take is before I talk.
So I remember, before I get into it, I was just going to say, I remember in senior year of high school when you were asking one of my friends at the time for a Google Doc with all of the FNAF lore on it.
Because I wanted to know what his thoughts were.
The entire timeline was on this Google Doc. And Jude just like, yo, send it to me, send it to me, send it to me.
He never actually sent it to me. I had to go on Matt Pat's videos and find it all for myself. Thanks, man.
So Shout
out Matt Pat.
I did watch a 2-hour Matt Pat video. I think it was like a mega edit that someone did for Matt Pat's videos that explained where the lore stood in terms of like theories. Right before the film came out. I think it was like 2 nights before.
5 nights
and
before.
I saw it the Thursday it came out, like the Thursday before it came out, like on the pre-screenings or whatever.
You saw the pre-screening?
Well, like a pre-screening isn't like it comes out on a Friday night, but I saw it on a Thursday night.
Oh, okay.
Generally, I do that with movies because I just like going into a movie with a clear head, not hearing what people think about it, because I'm good about like keeping that out of like how I factor or like what factors into like a movie's rating, and I always ignore what the critics say and what the audiences say, because I generally disagree with them anyway. So I don't let that affect anything, but I don't want it to even play any factor into me walking into that theater and
Right.
sitting down of like, they didn't like this movie, I hope I do type thing. I didn't
Right.
want to hear any of that.
Right.
So I generally see movies the Thursday before they come out
Okay.
officially. I thought it was fine.
That's a good way to put it. I think
thought
it's
it was
fine.
fine.
I
There,
think
there were
it's
moments where
okay.
it really dragged.
I agree.
However, the last 20, 25 minutes, I absolutely loved.
I agree with that. I liked that part too.
Are we doing spoilers?
Yeah, I think that it's
Okay, we're gonna
you've
talk
had
about
enough
spoilers.
time,
We'll talk about
audience.
spoilers.
You can leave now if you want. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about spoilers.
Or just skip ahead. I don't know how long, but skip ahead if you want to not hear spoilers. So, I thought the movie was like fine. It was like a 6 out of 10 in my head until like the middle of the movie hit, where honestly it was about like a 5 or 6. I was just kind of bleh about it. Like for me, for reference, a 5 out of 10 is an average movie. I don't go by grading standards where a 7 out of 10 is average and below like a 60% is failing. I don't go by that.
Okay.
I go by 50 is the middle. Anything below that is below average. Anything above that is above average. That's how I go about movies. A 5 out of 10 is in the middle. It's a fine movie.
Okay.
There's enough good and enough bad.
I don't go by that, which is interesting. My 5 is different than your 5 because, well, my 4.5, technically, I wrote this down in my notes. Like, I had, walking out of the theater, I was angry, if I'm being honest. I had some really big criticisms.
I felt that about a movie earlier this year that we can get into later.
Okay, right.
You know what movie I'm talking about, I'm sure, but
yes,
you
I
can
do know
go
what
ahead.
movie you're talking about. The biggest criticism that I had for the movie, so first of all, I liked what they did with Mike Schmidt. I like that they made him a whole different character. I think it's interesting. Well, you made a face. You don't like how they did Mike
think
Schmidt?
anytime they were out of the pizzeria, with the exception of one part, was the least interesting part of the film.
That's fair. I think that's fair. Okay.
I wasn't really into the plot of him trying to win custody of his younger sister. I thought it was fine.
Right.
It was enough of a plot to make the story happen. But I think you could have found something different to make it happen.
Yeah.
There's also some strange things. Maybe it was explained in the movie, but there's some strange things about the logic of the film that confuses me. Like, so here's one thing I want to ask you, because maybe you have the answer to this.
Okay.
In the scene with the sister's introduction to the animatronics, it's played off as like this shocking moment where like Mike wakes up in the office and he runs out because he hears his sister screaming, and they're all surrounding the girl
And they're like tickling her,
and they're tickling
or something.
her. So if they were just like playing games with her this entire time, why at the very end of the movie do they decide to kill her?
Because they want her to be like them. That's the whole
But
point.
why wouldn't they have just done that before?
Because they
What's
wanted...
the point of gaining the trust if they were just going to force her into the suit anyway? They didn't need her trust to put her in that suit. She didn't want to go in that suit anyway.
Interesting. Okay.
Do you see what
Let
I'm
me think
talking about?
This. I do see what you're saying. So it's
Now,
like, why
maybe
wouldn't
there's
they
a-
just do that from the get-go?
Yeah, maybe
from
there
the
was like
jump?
an in-movie explanation that I missed. But when I sat there and I thought about it, because at first I thought like, oh, they're protecting the girl because in the theories that were going around, it's because like, oh, they want to keep kids from getting killed, and so like the spirits of these kids will protect other kids. But that's completely flipped on its head when they try to kill her, because that's no longer the motivation. The motivation is something completely different. It's they're listening to William Afton, which I was kind of confused on, like, why are they doing this? Why does he have control over these souls? I don't know. The last 20 minutes of the movie where that kind of does actually come into play is the most enjoyable part of the movie for me. the whole like final act is the part where I actually kind of my interest was piqued.
Okay.
I don't know. I think the problem with this movie was the first game came out 9 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
There's been at least 6 years of hype since it was announced. What was it? It was announced, I think, in 2015 that the movie was going to come out. So 8 years of hype for this movie.
Right.
Very few films have ever lived up to 8 years of hype. And I think that's kind of a thing. That's definitely something that played into the movie.
True.
However, they said the movie was for the fans. And I know there are fans that absolutely love the movie. So as a fan of I wouldn't say I'm a fan of the FNAF series anymore. I was when I was little. Once it got past in terms of like releasing games, once it was past Ultimate Custom Night, I don't know how many how many games have come out since Ultimate Custom Night.
I could not tell you. I didn't pay attention past that point. Wait, Ultimate Custom didn't the new one. Why am I blanking on the name?
Security Breach?
Security Breach. Didn't that come out after Ultimate Custom Night?
It did. Well, like I don't know how many have happened since like Ultimate Custom Night. Like what's happened since. I didn't play Ultimate Custom Night, and nor did I keep up with the lore, but I at least was aware of its existence.
Sure.
The last time I kept up with the lore of this series was Sister Location.
Okay.
So it's been a bit.
Sure.
I did read the original trilogy of novels. The first novel, I think if they would have taken the first novel and turned it into that first FNAF movie that just came out, I think people would like it a lot more. Because I think that's a great book. I love the first FNAF book. The second one, not so much. There's a lot that happens in the end of the book that gets confusing. And then the third one I kind of read with like I kind of like glazed over at a point when I was reading the third one, so I don't 100% remember much of what happened in the third one, but I remember just being like, it was fine. It was better than the second one, but
okay,
could have been better. But anyway, that first book in the FNAF trilogy of novels I think is great.
I didn't read any of the novels, so I can't speak on those.
I have 2 copies of the first one, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
2 copies.
2 copies.
Not just one.
I buy multiple copies of things I like. I'm sure you know this. I have like many copies
6 copies of the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
I do have 6 physical copies of the Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Just in case the first 5, I don't know, incinerate.
Fail,
spontaneously combust.
No, I buy them just because I don't have the...
Only true fans have 6.
If I'm like walking through the store and I see a case that I don't have for a movie that I like, I'm like, I'm buying it. I have actually... So if you look... audio people won't be able to see it, but I'm going to
just see it in your head.
Jude. I have a series of books, a trilogy that says A Good Girl's Guide to Murder right there on my bookshelf.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Those are the UK editions of those books. The actual mass-produced American copies are up on that third shelf.
Why? Why?
Because the covers are different.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Mega fan. That's all I gotta say. Mega fan.
I have a special edition of a book on my top shelf that has an exclusive artwork on the cover, and it's signed by the author, and it's a Star Wars book. I'm a big Star Wars fan. But I have a book, and I had to track it down because there were a very limited number of those in production. But it came with a matching tote bag as well, so I have that tote bag still in the wrapping. I haven't taken it out, but nice. I love buying multiple copies of media. I can't tell you how many movies I have duplicates of, just because like I see it, I'm like, oh, I don't have that cover. Oh, I don't have that. Oh, I don't have that. You know, sometimes I'll see it be like, oh, I have the DVD, but I don't have the Blu-ray.
Right.
Or oh, I don't have the DVD Blu-ray combo.
So then you buy it or something.
I buy it.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I'm not dropping like $70 on these movies, but, well, for most of them.
Me who just pirates them online and...
I don't do that. If there's a movie I want to watch, I just buy it. Like, I buy the DVD.
So you can just have it. You watch it as many times as you want.
Because even if I don't like it, at least I can add it to the shelf. And I'm supporting the people. Because this day and age with streaming... It's a little better now that the strikes have ended. But I do want to support the writers and the directors and the actors and everyone that puts in effort to make these films. And they don't get as much money through streaming as they do through DVD purchases and stuff. So, I mean, I don't 100% know the statistics of that, but I know that they'll at least make money from me buying multiple copies of the first Scream film. You know, I have multiple copies of every Scream film, but
These companies are just staying afloat solely because of Tyler Menzel.
I'm buying everything they put out. I'm so mad. Best Buy announced that they announced it like a month and a half ago, I think, that they will no longer be carrying physical media, Blu-rays, DVDs, anything like that. And 2024, they won't be carrying that anymore, and they won't be selling it.
Wow.
Which makes me so sad because that's the only reason I go to Best Buy.
Really?
That's the only reason I go to Best Buy.
Dang. Well, they just lost like half their income right there.
Yeah, they just lost me as a customer. Thanks
Their stock just
Best
plummets.
Yeah, no, because of me. They
Wall
won't be able
Street's
to
like
do anything.
freaking out. They're like,
No,
what?
anytime I
All
go to
'cause of you.
Walmart, though, I go through the DVD section like 3 or 4 times. I want to make sure I don't miss anything.
Interesting.
But anytime I go to a store like that, generally I come home with at least one movie
Okay.
to add to the collection. My collection is 6 shelves, but it's multiple rows. And they're also stacked on top of each other because I just have so many. And then people help contribute. People have bought movies for me that they either don't know I have it or they're just like, oh, hey, here's a movie.
But it wouldn't make a difference to you anyway. You're like, oh, okay.
No,
this
yeah.
is
I'm like, oh my gosh,
11th
this is so
copy
cool.
of
I'll
this.
take another copy of Star Wars The Force Awakens. I love that movie. You haven't seen Star Wars.
I haven't seen Star Wars.
That's a
I'm
shame.
sorry.
I
Maybe
love
one
Star
day.
Wars.
Maybe
I have
one
a
day.
Star
We'll
Wars
talk about it.
tattoo. I mean, it has more significance than Star Wars, but
Yes.
I have Star Wars all over the place. You're sitting right in front of a Star Wars poster. It's hanging right above your shoulder.
Well, to be fair, I did play the Lego video games when I was a kid, so I do know some of the lore.
Oh, sure. Yeah, okay. The most boiled down version
Anakin
of it.
Skywalker, lightsaber, Yoda.
Just naming things from this movies doesn't do anything.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Yeah, I don't know much about it.
I own multiple copies of almost all the films. There's 2 that I don't own multiple copies of.
How can you even call yourself a fan at that point?
Because well,
Sitting
so
next to
that's
your
the thing.
4
The
lightsabers,
two
you disgrace.
I know. The 2 movies that I don't own are actually my least favorite movies, and it's the one. Well, one of them is the one that gets Star Wars fans to turn on me. I actually uninstalled TikTok because I uploaded a video in which I ranked the Star Wars movies just for my own enjoyment. Because I'm like, oh, this
Really?
will be fun. The comment section was so toxic
Oh my gosh.
that it kind of played into the role of me uninstalling TikTok. I wanted to uninstall TikTok already, but like I saw that, and then like the only notifications I was getting on TikTok were just people commenting on that. And I guess, to be fair, I'm putting my opinion out there.
Right.
But there's a difference between disagreeing with someone
And just picking a fight with them for their difference.
Well, and disrespecting them.
Okay. And you were being disrespected.
I don't think disrespecting someone for their opinion is ever called for unless there's a fact at play. There's no fact saying certain movies are better than others. Just because they won more Oscars or whatever doesn't make them better movies. I'm saying movies. Movies and films in my head are separate things. Something can be a good movie, but a bad film.
Okay, so it's all about like the subjective versus like if it's a thriller, if you feel like it'll get a lot of fan enjoyment, good movie. But as far as like character development, character arcs, the more like fine things that you would notice in a film / movie, then it becomes like a film. That's the.
I'd say the Fast and Furious franchise is a good example of that. They're good movies because the enjoyment that you get out of them.
Right. Fast cars, guns.
Yeah,
Vin Diesel.
But
We Are Family.
Some of them are actually like really well shot,
Mm.
and like, I mean, the acting in those movies is never like top notch, but
Sure.
that's kind of what makes those movies so charming.
It's because that's the same way I feel about Twilight. Actually,
I haven't seen Twilight.
So I just
I'm
rewatched
so
the first
hesitant
one.
to watch Twilight. I've been told I need to watch Twilight, but I'm so hesitant because the thing is, I think I'm just gonna have like this great like disliking toward those movies that I'm like scared to face.
So you probably will. No, the plot's actually good. I enjoyed the plot a lot.
There is an actress in those movies that I do like. Her name's Christian Serratos. She plays a girl with glasses in those movies. That's all I know.
Is she a vampire?
I don't know.
Oh.
I just know I have a I have an autograph of her somewhere.
Of course. So
Hey, I got it while we were doing this podcast. I think I actually might have announced it on one of the test episodes that I got her autograph.
Oh my goodness, I do remember you saying that. Wasn't she in The Walking Dead?
She's in The Walking Dead. That's
how
where
you
I know
got
her.
that. Yes.
Yeah,
Okay. I do
and then
remember
she
that.
was in like the Selena Netflix series as well, and like Twilight. She's
Okay.
in other things, I believe, but I know her from Walking Dead because she plays my favorite character, or one of my favorite characters from that show.
Okay, so talking about movies, so we do have to wrap up soon, but
We
I
do.
do want to go back to FNAF just super briefly,
Yes.
just to give an overall opinion of it, why I give it a 4.5. So the reason that I give it a 4.5 is mainly because I don't like the fact that since it's based off the video games and it has very little to actually do with the video games. It has nothing to do with the animatronics actually trying to get into the security office.
Yes,
It has
I
nothing
agree.
to do with the cameras or anything. You could have done so much with that and you didn't. It was such a disappointment. When the movie ended, I was like, that's it? Are you serious? Like, where's the camera? Where's the jump scare that happens? I was waiting for it. Like,
That was a thing I was thinking about. It's like, man, like they talked about how it wasn't going to be a jump scare fest. And I mean,
Yeah.
to their credit, it wasn't. But it wasn't exactly creepy or scary
I didn't.
or anything.
I wanted to be a
thing
little
is that
scared by
they
it.
came off more as jump scares, though I think technically they're not classified as jump scares. They came off more as jump scares, especially like we are allowed to go into spoilers. The Balloon Boy inclusion.
Okay,
was
sure.
purely jump scare stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's played for comedic effect, but it's played with the loud like sound effect and like it's
Yeah.
yeah. But my thing is like with the FNAF games, the jump scares are like some of the best parts of those games.
That's the best
like,
part.
The thing is, it just like the opening scene, for example, was a great example of this. Foxy just runs to the camera. You get the POV of Foxy, and then it just cuts. And it's like I would have liked to see the jump scare.
I know.
From that
Yes.
moment.
Yes, I would
And
have
like
liked
the
to see that
horror
too.
that security guard is experiencing instead of getting a
Just
POV.
just the POV.
Because the POV
Sure.
to me came off as cheesy. That set the
Sure.
tone for me at the beginning of the movie of like, okay, I see how this movie's gonna go.
Yeah. So I wish that there was more. I wish that there was some more jump scares. I wish that they did more with the cameras, and I really, really wish. So I understand the thought behind the scene of making the forts with the animatronics. I understand the thought behind it of you're trying to show that they're kids, that they have a special bond with the younger sister. I understand it. Do it another way, dude. Every single person in the movie theater I was in dropped like head in their hands, like. It was hard for me to watch
when
that scene.
Bonnie fell over, and then the little girl runs over. Are you okay? And he sticks his thumb up.
Yeah, I was like, dude, come on. What are we
People
doing here?
in my theater groaned, or facepalmed, or both.
It's like, what are we doing right now?
The person I was with that was watching the movie with me, she turned to me and said, "This is getting a little cringy," and I'm like, "It's just getting cringy." I feel like the whole thing, not like a bad cringe. Some of it was,
right?
Not all of it was. But that point in the movie, that's when I like really started to clock out.
You're adding an overly like childish comic relief to an already not really scary movie. It just makes it cringy and like not enjoyable at all. If it was really scary, if the movie was really scary and then you throw that in, okay, even so, that scene was really cringy. But I feel like, dude, the movie itself was already not creepy,
I think
and then
that
to throw
scene
that
should
in
have just
there.
been taken out.
Yes, I agree.
Like,
I
I'm sure
agree.
there's I mean, it's played purely for comedic effect, and I think there's a point where you don't need that, especially in that context. I don't think because the animatronics are supposed to have this commanding presence on screen,
Right.
and the moment that you do something like that, to me, it took away all of the gravitas that came with those animatronics.
Right.
Because it was just like I've seen them be comedic and stupid.
I can't take them seriously anymore.
In the finale, it doesn't come off as scary to me. It just comes off as oh. And then like the animatronics are like disabled really quickly.
Yes.
With like there's a trick that's played in the movie, and I don't know if it's 2 or 3 of the animatronics, but I think it's 2. They get disabled so quickly. And then, like, I'm happy that Foxy was the only one left because Foxy is my favorite of the animatronics. Yeah. But it was one of those things where it seemed like it was happening too fast. Like, they were just trying to get to the point where William Afton came in. Like, it felt rushed, but it wasn't rushed because, like, there were points where it really slowed down. But to me, it just felt like it was just really trying to get to that moment at the end of the movie with William Afton where he gets in the suit and the spring locks go off and he's like, I always come back, and he puts the mask on. That was one of my favorite parts of the movie. I love Matthew Lillard as I don't think
I
you know
do
who-
like that
do you
too.
know who
I
Matthew
agree.
Lillard is?
Yeah, he was not Scooby, Shaggy and Scooby Doo.
Yeah.
I like that pick. I remember hearing that he was gonna play William Afton, and I thought it was good because he's like he played the role well.
He's in the first Scream film.
Really?
He's so good in it too. I had to show you that movie.
We will.
I had to show you the Scream movies because they're not scary. They're horror, but they're like horror comedies.
Okay. Yeah,
I think you
would
would like them. I don't
Yeah.
like comedies themselves, but horror comedies
Right.
I enjoy.
Yeah. So I think that like the premise of these podcasts is sort of like an unstructured, structured type of thing where like we started talking about movies, right?
Exactly
should
what we
definitely-
just did.
We'll do episodes in the future about like, all right, we're talking about Scream. Should it go to other subjects? Sure. But like in the future, I definitely want to take a look, make some episodes about those movies and other movies that you would want me to check out because
Oh, I have a whole list on a Google Doc, actually, a list of films for you to sit down and watch.
great. Fantastic. All right. Well, I do have to get going.
Of
so,
course.
all right.
Yes,
I'm
yes,
going to
yes.
wrap it up.
All right. You want to wrap it up or should I?
You got it. I
All
took
right.
us in.
All right. Thanks so much for listening to this if you got this far into it. When will we have more content? I'm not sure, but go follow us on Instagram.
Yes,
It'll be soon. It will
sir.
100% be soon. This is not a one-off episode. This is an official start to the season.
Yes.
So go and follow us on our Instagram. I will put the Instagram in the bio, not the bio, the description of this video.
Yes. Same thing.
So, yep, it's the same thing. So go there and follow. You will see updates for future content.
Mhm.
And thanks for listening. Hope you have a great day and a great week. And podcasts out.
Yeah. UE podcast out. We'll see you guys next time.